had a statistic that basically 90% of children with disabilities are not in school.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
that means basically when we talk about inclusive education in the school system, we're talking about 10% of the of the children. Also, the other statistic which was interesting to me that I think 3% of adults with disabilities are literate, which is another whole thing we can tackle in the future. But getting back to the 90%, we've kind of looked at that, right? And we've trying to start to look at how can we reach those 90%. Well, I mean, if you get where I'm going, do you know what is one of our solutions to that? I'm talking about homeschooling, basically.
I know. I know. I was just about to say that as much as we are so determined and so focused on solving each and every challenge that our people with disabilities face, the truth of the matter is that we cannot solve all the problems in the short time that we have on earth. But one of the strategies that we are using is homeschooling and hybrid learning, as you mentioned. I wanted to keep that as more of a surprise, but now that the cat is out of the bag, let's talk about that. Homeschooling is taking a lot of effect, not just in America, even in countries around Africa, around Asia, are adopting and adapting to homeschooling. I think since COVID, I think it's just become quite obvious that this is very possible. So we we are trying to educate parents as well. In our scriptures, we say that parents are second to God, and they're the first teachers of the children. So when we are able to empower the parents, they will automatically empower their children. So one of the solutions that we have come together, we've crafted together, let me put it that way, is talking about homeschooling and hybrid learning. Together with that, when you talk about 90% of the people who are suffering from some kind of a disability, I like calling it a different ability, um, there is a bigger challenge with that because some are visible disabilities and most are invisible disabilities. So when you talk about neurodivergent learners, they too, despite going through regular, curriculums or going to the best schools in the country, even in the continent for that matter, still cannot be accommodated in their classrooms. For me, that still is not inclusive. They're still excluded because they're not catered for in their classrooms. And when you talk about invisible disabilities, it can happen to a very regular looking child, and it can happen to a child is who has got some visible disability. This is a condition. It is something that you know um, it sort of, I don't want to say it defines them, but it definitely does have an impact on who they are in essence. And when we ignore that, we ignore the whole truth about who this child is, and therefore we're not giving them an inclusive education anyway. So I think it goes way beyond what we normally call disabilities that are visible. So there are those that are invisible that we cannot ignore either.